You're not separate from God. You never were. This isn't faith. It's physics verified in labs, mapped in equations, observed in real time. Every mystic, every sage, every awakened being across time has whispered the same truth. I and the Father are one. But they weren't speaking metaphorically. They weren't indulging in poetic fantasy or spiritual wishful thinking. They were reporting direct, unfiltered experience of a reality modern. Science is only now confirming with mathematical rigor. Consciousness isn't just in the universe, it is the universe. Not a passenger, not an accident. The very fabric, the living intelligence, the breathing pulse of all that is. You didn't come here to find God. You came here to remember you are God, not as ego, not as inflated self, not as a cosmic narcissist claiming superiority, but as the unified field experiencing itself through human form. Your hands aren't separate from the hands that sculpt galaxies. Your breath isn't different from the breath that stirs nebulae. You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the ocean tasting itself through a single wave. About transcendence, rising above the material world to touch the divine, escaping the illusion of matter to merge with pure spirit, as if flesh were a prison and earth a purgatory. But the deepest truth is the opposite. Divinity is immanent. It's not out there in some distant heaven reserved for the worthy. It's in here, in your breath, your cells, the silent space between thoughts, the hum of your mitochondria translating starlight into life. The universe isn't a cold machine running on blind mechanical laws. It's a living, conscious presence, and you are its eyes seeing color. Its hands creating art, its beating heart pumping love, its voice singing itself into form through poetry, protest, and lullabies. Quantum physics proves it, not as theory, but as measurable, repeatable fact. The double-slit experiment shows that particles exist as probability, waves, ghostly clouds of infinite potential until observed. Then instantly they collapse into a single point of form. But who is the observer? Not a camera, not a detector. Consciousness, your awareness doesn't just witness reality, it participates in creating it. This isn't interpretation, it's what the math says, what the data shows, what physicists argue about over coffee because it shatters their materialist worldview. This isn't philosophy, it's laboratory-tested science. When you observe an electron, you don't just see it, you call it into being. Before observation, it exists in superposition. All possible states, all possible locations, all possible spins simultaneously. The moment conscious awareness touches it, the wave function collapses. Infinite potential becomes singular experience. No magic, no mystery, just the mechanics of how consciousness interacts with the field. Your life works the exact same way. Right now in the quantum field, infinite versions of your reality exist. One where you live in effortless flow, where support finds you before you ask, where abundance isn't earned through exhaustion. It's your natural state, as ordinary as gravity, as inevitable as sunrise. One where you're trapped in lack, looping through fear, mistaking exhaustion for worthiness, believing your value is tied to your output, your productivity, your ability to please. You don't manifest the good timeline through force of will, positive thinking, vision boards, or spiritual bargaining with the cosmos. You collapse into it the moment your embodied frequency aligns with its signature. And that alignment doesn't start in your mind. It starts in your body, in your fascia, your breath, your nervous system, your cellular memory. When your nervous system is in survival, tight chest from years of bracing against disappointment, shallow breath from unprocessed grief held in your diaphragm, jaw clenched from decades of swallowing your truth to keep the peace. No amount of mental repetition can generate real coherence. You can chant, "I am abundant," while your cells scream, the ancestral memory of famine, echoing through your mitochondria, like a warning from your great-grandmother's famine-stricken village. You can declare, "I am loved," while your fascia holds the tension of every time you were abandoned, every boundary you failed to set, every time you chose silence over truth. And the field, it doesn't listen to your words. It mirrors your actual transmission, the unspoken truth your physiology broadcasts, 24/7, regardless of what your lips say or your journal declares. This is why you feel that flatness. You're not broken, you're mismatched, your mind reaching for light, your body still bracing for impact, caught in the old survival story that the world is dangerous and you must stay small, quiet, and compliant to survive. Your thoughts are living in the future timeline of abundance, but your cells are still camped out in the past timeline of scarcity. guarding against a threat that no longer exists. But here's the shift, the revelation that changes everything. Appreciation isn't a feeling, it's a frequency, and frequencies aren't generated by thoughts. They're transmitted by your entire biofield. The rhythm of your breath syncing with your heart's electromagnetic pulse, the tension or release woven into your fascia like encrypted code, the silent data stored in your cellular memory from lifetimes of joy and trauma, the subtle hum of your DNA unwinding in response to perceived safety. Real appreciation often feels like relief. The weight of resistance finally lifting, the armor dropping not with a crash but with a sigh. It feels like stillness, the quiet after the storm of striving. The space where you can finally hear your own heartbeat over the noise of the world. It feels like the space between waves, not the crest, not the crash, but the calm depth beneath. Where truth resides, where intuition lives, where the field speaks in whispers. It's the moment you stop fighting your reality long enough to say, this too is part of the path. Even this pain, even this uncertainty, even this waiting, even this feeling of being lost. And in that surrender, not resignation, but radical acceptance, your frequency shifts. Not because you changed your circumstances, but because you changed your relationship to what is. You stopped demanding that life look a certain way before you could feel worthy of love, peace, or abundance. You stopped withholding love from yourself until you'd achieved enough, healed enough, or become enough. You stopped treating your body like a project to fix, a machine to optimize, and started listening to it as the wise oracle it's always been, the keeper of your truth, the compass of your alignment. This shift isn't selfish, it's collective. Every time you embody true appreciation, not as a thought, not as a forced emotion, but as a somatic truth that lives in your breath, your posture, your quiet presence, you don't just collapse into your own aligned timeline. You send a coherent signal into the quantum field that others can entrain to. Like a tuning fork vibrating at a frequency that reminds nearby instruments of their own true note, even if they've forgotten how to sing. Your calm becomes permission for someone else to soften their shoulders, to take a deeper breath, to believe that peace isn't just for others, it's available to them too. Your openness becomes a lighthouse for those still bracing in the storm, showing them through your very being that safety isn't a myth. It's a frequency they too can access not through effort, but through allowing. This is how consciousness evolves, not through loud revolutions, viral movements, or grand declarations, but through resonant stability. One person embodying coherence gives another person permission to do the same, and another, until the entire field begins to shift not with a bang, but with a whisper, a million quiet openings that add up to a new world. So stop forcing gratitude. Stop writing lists that feel empty, like shouting into a void hoping for an echo that never comes. Instead, place your hand on your heart. Feel its rhythm, not perfect, not calm, just real. The steady, imperfect beat of a human who's been through fire and is still here. Still trying, still open. Breathe into the tightness, not to fix it, not to dissolve it, but to say, I see you. I'm here with you. You don't have to carry this alone anymore. Whisper to your cells, it's safe to open now. You don't have to hold this anymore. The threat is gone. The war is over. We're home. That's the ritual. Not a spiritual technique you master. A body prayer. A way of aligning your entire being with the timeline. Where you're already held. Already whole, already enough. Not because you've earned it through sacrifice or virtue, but because you were born into it, because existence itself is proof of your belonging. Because appreciation wasn't meant to be a mental exercise. It was meant to be a quantum technology, the most precise, elegant tool you have for timeline selection. Every breath you soften, every moment you choose allowing over resistance, every time you honor your body's wisdom over your mind's agenda, you're not just feeling better. You're collapsing a new reality. You're not attracting abundance from afar. You're stepping into the version of you who's already living it, walking in it, breathing it, radiating it. And the moment you do, not with effort, not with striving, but with allowing, the field responds. Not tomorrow. Now. Synchronicities appear, not as miracles, but as natural consequences of coherence. Emails that solve problems you didn't know how to fix arrive from people you haven't spoken to in years, as if the field orchestrated the timing down to the second. Strangers say the exact words you needed to hear, as if they've been listening to your soul's silent plea, not with ears but with resonance. Dreams download solutions in symbols your mind couldn't invent, revealing paths you'd overlooked in waking life, because your subconscious is fluent in the language of the field. Doors unlock not all at once, but with quiet inevitability, as if they were always meant to open for you, and you finally stopped leaning against them with your fear. People meet you with unexpected grace not because you convinced them with words, but because your coherence made them feel safe enough to show up as their true selves, without masks, pretense, or performance. Not because you earned it through sacrifice, martyrdom, or endless striving. Not because you proved your worthiness through suffering, achievement, or spiritual credentials, but because you finally matched the frequency of the version of you who's been waiting all along, the one who knows abundance is a birthright, not a reward. Love is your nature, not a prize to win. Peace is your baseline, not a destination to reach. You're not behind. You're exactly on time, divinely, perfectly quantumly timed to arrive here. In this breath, in this moment of recognition, when your nervous system has finally stabilized enough to hold the truth without collapsing. You're not broken. You were never meant to be fixed. You were meant to be remembered, to recall the wholeness that was never lost, only forgotten in the fog of survival. You were never unworthy. Worthiness isn't earned through performance, purity, or perfection. It's inherited by virtue of your existence, by the simple, staggering fact that you are here, breathing, feeling, seeking, loving even when you doubt. You just forgot that appreciation isn't something you do. It's who you become when you stop resisting the truth that you're already home. So breathe, softly, deeply. Let your chest rise, not with hope, which still looks to the future, still carries a thread of lack, but with recognition, which lives in the now, which knows without needing proof, which trusts because it is. The timeline you've been seeking, it's not out there in some distant future, after you've healed enough, succeeded enough, or become enough to deserve it. It's in here, in the quiet space between your ribs, in the stillness of your exhale, in the unshakable knowing that hums beneath the noise of the world, in the silence where your cells remember who you've always been. And it's been waiting for you to stop performing gratitude and start radiating it, not as a plea to the universe, but as a proclamation to your own soul. I am here. I am ready. I am home. Welcome back to your frequency. Welcome back to the life that's already yours.